All right, let's dive right in and completely demystify artificial intelligence from the ground up. Today, we're taking that magic black box you've been hearing absolutely everywhere and turning it into a totally transparent tool. And hey, no computer science degree required for this, I promise. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly what's actually going on behind the screen.
So first things first, we've got to address the elephant in the room. Why does AI feel so incredibly human? I mean, it feels super familiar to us because it acts like this lightning-fast assistant that anticipates our needs and speaks our language perfectly. But truth be told, that's actually just a trick of massive scale. There isn't a tiny person hiding inside your computer doing the thinking for you.
Here's the absolute crucial point you need to anchor yourself to right now. AI is just a pattern learning system. Seriously, once you wrap your head around that fact, all the mystery and confusion about how it behaves just begins to dissolve. It's not human intelligence that someone somehow copied and pasted into a machine. It's simply a system that learns patterns well enough to produce really useful outputs. Once you grasp that, it completely stops being magic.
Let's take a second to actually define what intelligence means in this context, because it's kind of important. We're not talking about having a soul or self-awareness here. We're just talking about effective information handling. Think about crossing a busy street. You don't stand there calculating the exact physics and velocity of every single car from scratch, right? No, you just intuitively judge the movement, speed, and distance to get to the other side safely. You take in the situation and you respond well.
A really great way to picture this is by thinking of a kitchen. Intelligence basically breaks down into 3 layers. At the very bottom, you have data. Those are your raw ingredients. In the middle, you have patterns. That's the structure of the recipe itself. And at the top, you have judgment, like a cook deciding to add just a pinch of salt based on how something tastes. Now, humans are amazing at that top layer of judgment, but AI is an absolute powerhouse strictly in that middle layer. It is incredibly good at recognizing patterns and noticing that recipe structure over and over again.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. I want to take you through a guided review, a sort of test, if you will, on the 3 big signs of intelligence. We're going to see exactly where machines and humans part ways. This is the ultimate test to separate the mind from the math. Let's see how you do. All right, sign number 1 is all about recognizing patterns and sorting through the noise.
Think about doing a load of laundry. When you or I do it, we actually understand the concept of clothes. We know why they get dirty from being worn, and we know why we need to wash them. We have a real, lived understanding of the world. But in AI, if it's sorting laundry visually, it's just blindly separating dark colors from light colors based purely on math formulas and pixels. It literally has no idea what a shirt actually is. Moving right along to sign number 2, choosing the right response. Because spotting a pattern isn't enough. You actually have to do something about it.
Imagine you've got this massive key ring. Having all those keys is completely useless unless you can pick the exact right one for the door in front of you. A human uses real-world context for this. We know what building we're at, we know what room is behind the door. The AI, on the other hand, just selects the key that its math tells it is the most highly probable match. It's generating an output based purely on statistics, not on any actual understanding of where it is.
And that brings us to the 3rd and final sign. Adapting to completely new conditions. Handling the unexpected stuff that pops up. Picture yourself riding a bicycle, and suddenly you hit a totally new, bumpy gravel road. As a human, you intuitively adapt your balance to this new surface because you understand the core physical skill of riding. You just adjust. But in AI, it's probably going to crash. If those completely new conditions don't match the historical patterns it studied during training, it's in trouble. It can generalize a tiny bit, sure, but it usually breaks down when the real world gets messy.
So looking at those 3 signs, what's the big takeaway? Well, it shows us that AI is not a mind. Not at all. It is simply a very large set of mathematical habits. When you ask it a question, it's not sitting there pondering from scratch. It just triggers these compressed habits based on its past training and spits out the most likely answer. Now you might be wondering, okay, if it's just a bunch of math habits, how does it actually learn them in the first place? Let's look at the engine behind all this. It all comes down to a learning loop, and it's surprisingly simple. The AI sees an example in the data, it makes a guess at what the pattern is, it checks to see how wrong its guess was, and then it slightly adjusts its own invisible internal dials to do better next time. And here's the kicker. It repeats this loop millions and millions of times until it's barely ever surprised. It is literally just trying to reduce its own error rate. To really get this, we need to separate the training phase from the use phase. You know how AI feels lightning fast when you're using it on your phone? That's because all the heavy lifting, the slow shaping of millions of internal dials, has already happened back in the lab. When you're using it, you are just running your prompt through a system of fixed, pre-shaped patterns. The hard work is already done.
But hey, it's not perfect, right? We've all seen AI mess up or give weird answers. So why does that happen?
When AI makes a mistake, it's not failing at thinking. It's literally just doing what it was mathematically trained to do. Errors usually pop up because of the data it learned from. Maybe there was too little data, so it lacks variety. Maybe the data was biased or just super noisy and inconsistent. Or maybe it's overgeneralizing and applying a pattern where it definitely doesn't belong. Basically, if the data fed into the machine was flawed, the habits the machine forms are going to be flawed too.
Let's look at a quick example. Say a local retail store wants to predict when seasonal snack sales are going to spike. And AI can beautifully extract those mathematical trends from years of receipt data. But, and this is key, it does this without ever needing to actually understand the cultural meaning or the human joy behind the holidays that are driving those sales. It only sees the math, never the meaning.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, let it be this. AI is not waking up. It is not becoming conscious. It is simply aligning its internal structure to mimic the repeated data of our world. The huge technological breakthrough here isn't consciousness. The breakthrough is that we finally figured out how to build a structure that can compress the world's messy data into highly usable predictions. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a totally new diagnostic mindset to use from now on. Stop asking if the machine is human or if it's thinking. Instead, start looking for the pattern it's relying on. When it succeeds, it just found a really good pattern. When it fails, the pattern broke. So the next time an AI gives you an answer that feels a little too perfect, ask yourself, what invisible pattern from the past is this machine just repeating back to me?